The way I think it's going to pan out is, I think advertisers are really going to look at a lot more of ROI, a lot more of accountability across different media platforms. And I also think they would kind of wait and watch in terms of deploying some of their longer term kind of investments across media channels. Unless a property is like tried and tested before, I think it'll go through a lot of scrutiny, it'll go through a lot of analysis before they actually start investing. And tracking of ROI and tracking of what it's actually doing to the brand and to the business is going to happen in a very rigorous way in the first 4-5 months. So to sum up this point, well, there are not going to be too many cutbacks. There's going to be, I think a lot of scrutiny. Media investments are going to be put through, and then I think it's only towards the middle of the year that we will be able to kind of take stock and see how is the rest of the year going to pan out. Yeah, it also depends on how the market and the overall sentiment is going forward.
Evolution is part of that. I think in our business, only thing which is constant is change, right? So that's going to happen, and it's going to happen continuously. And I think I would take on a positive side because things are becoming more and more adaptive because world is becoming more dynamic, and how you just change on the fly, make right choices, and take a right decisions.
Okay, 2016. I'm looking forward to the new leagues, trying to consolidate themselves, trying to market themselves better. Most importantly, trying to market their players better, because what's happening is the first step is to create a structure. The first step is to possibly look at a new sporting league in its true formatting sense. The stage 2 comes in terms of how are you going to be making it more relevant for my fans to watch and build on that sport on a regular basis. So 2016, I look forward to the new leagues consolidating themselves in terms of marketing, packaging, and fan engagement.
I think 2016 is promising to be an even better year compared to 2015. Television obviously leads, but I think digital will also play a big role in the incremental spends that will come in 2016. Our forecast is that 30% of the incremental spend in 2016 will come from digital. So overall, I think it's looking optimistic.
Key trends on the mobile front is that we this year clearly are saying that digital advertising is equal to mobile advertising. We are clearly seeing the shift from a lion's share of this advertising on the digital frame being consumed and being a part of mobile spends. Obviously, reason being that India has crossed over 1 billion mobile connections as reported by TYNY. We are seeing a massive movement on the internet users from a mobile first device perspective. Close to 300 million have crossed that across. We are seeing a massive sense of smartphones being added. We are right now anywhere between about 170-175 million smartphones, and we are seeing an addition of about 9 to 10 million smartphones a month. So we project that about 300 million smartphones will be there by the time we close the year of 2016. And that becomes a very massive tailwind support that the consumers will start seeing consuming media on this particular device. And obviously wherever the consumer is spending more time, the brands and advertisers will follow. And I think that's clearly one of the headwinds that we are seeing. With so much dollars going into the domain, the advertisers start asking, saying, oh, please tell us how does this media perform? Am I able to measure? Am I able to actually look at saying where my consumers is coming back to me or not? What is the impact on this spend on the brand saliency? What is happening on the brand uplift? What is happening to purchase intent improvements, right? So the measurement starts really kicking in. Brands, now we are seeing clearly will start focusing on ensuring that they are holding the medium accountable. That means ecosystem metrics will happen, standardization will happen. Players like us will take part in terms of defining what the measures should be, what the metrics should be, what the standardized processes should be. And I think we will bring the whole transparency into the medium.
Digital advertising can play a very crucial role, because today what's happening is whenever you are in a stadium to watch a live spot, or whether you are in your house to see a live match, you always interact with your mobile phone as a device constantly. Yeah. So how can the right holders make it more relevant for a fan to consume their loved sport more often and in a more engaging way. One way to do it is to possibly look at highlight videos, pushing it through social media, making it more relevant, and the viralability of that content is much higher. So just to clarify, okay, while I'm watching live action, the smaller pieces, maybe someone taking a great catch or somebody doing a great goal on the moments, the highlights, has the potential to build more conversations in a digital media. That could be a great way to possibly communicate, engage and interact with fans on a regular basis.
Digital in a way challenging and sort of in a way changing some of the business model and how the business can sort of impact, right? So for example, we spoke about Uberization of multiple services business, right? So in a way it's impacting, today it impacted how you travel, but it's impacting how you're going to eat, how you're going to do a day-to-day sort of core, how you're going to contact your doctor, right? So there are multiple areas where the role of aggregators and disruptors which is coming into play, which is trying to change and unlock basically ecosystem and then sort of bring it to in a sort of forefront, right? So that's what is happening and creating a large service ecosystem, which will also I think trigger some of the thought with the product companies, either partnering with those aggregators or in a way creating a hybrid model with those guys.
One stark trend that we see is say multi-screen planning. Clients and planners no longer look at planning for digital in isolation. So you right at the inception when you're planning for a particular campaign or for a client, you look at you'll do multi-screen planning, and I think that's fundamentally changed the way people allocate spends on digital. I think that's what is leading to this kind of a growth. So that's one of the key trends that we see accelerating spends going forward.
E-commerce as a platform for advertisers is emerging in 2016, and that could kind of give an interesting spin to all of this. Plus some of the interesting work that's happening in the content space, especially in the video space and the branded content space, is going to give a further fillip to mobile advertising. So I mean, the real big headline trend for me would really be mobile driving ad growth, driving digital growth, and getting all traditional media owners, be it a broadcaster, be it a print publication owner, to think mobile fast, think mobile first, because that's where most of the advertising and communication dollars are going to flow to.
I don't think so. In the short run, it will happen like this. We believe the basic philosophizing of how you work on the medium will happen. So if you look at the Western world today, UK is perhaps the first country which this year should move digital spend upwards of 50%. China, we expect again would go 50% of the spend would be digital. So someday it will happen, right? But with India, we don't see that happening today, tomorrow. We see it's an evolution. What we are clearly seeing is that within the digital spend, mobile becomes a very strong component. This is a very clear trend that we are seeing across.
I don't think so. I think our forecast is for 2016 is that the growth will be consistent with what happened last year. There are lots of big events in the pipeline, especially on the sports side. World Cup and IPL. I think they are doing very well, especially in terms of sales, whatever we've seen so far. So I don't think there is any bad news at all in the anvil in 2016 for television.
TV is actually riding the digital wave, and they're doing it very smartly, broadcasters as an industry. Unlike some of the other media which are probably getting swamped by digital, I think TV is actually riding the wave, and we see that trend continuing. In fact, if you look at our numbers, TV plus digital today accounts for close to 60% of the total ADEX, and we see that number move to 70, 75, 80 in the near term. The combination of TV and digital.
Television most certainly will keep increasing because newer sports have a base which will keep on growing. Interestingly, the additional revenue earners are going to be digital. So there used to be a revenue model around franchise fees, around sponsorships, around television advertising. Now there could be a revenue model around social media engagement, and that's where we see the growth coming in.
Everything is role to play, and of course 30-second commercial will also have a role to play in sort of 2016 and maybe next few years to come. So I don't think it's going to change that overnight, but there are more and more layers which is coming up. and it's a basically integrated way of looking at it rather than only impact of 30 seconds or only impact of digital. It's a sum total of all you do and what's the collective impact you are making to consumer. That's more important.